How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video from me at ScrubGames. Today I'm joined by Harry Rivers to do a player interview covering his 9th place finish at the last CardMarket Regionals. Do I give everybody a hello, Harry?
Hey.
So from the weekend, you ended up going, was it 6-2 to 9th place finish for
Yeah,
CardMarket?
I ended up going 6-2.
How did you feel at the event? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. My only two losses being round 5 and 6, with my first loss being one from my own mistake, so it could have been better.
That's good. What was your reason for taking this deck to the CardMarket? Like, what was the choice behind playing this one?
Well, I had it built from the last format, and I felt like it would still be good in this format, so I decided not to bother changing decks. And
Yeah,
it's a decent matchup. That it's like King Vegeta with the Boo Unison, so
yeah, it does make sense because by the looks of it, the only real card you've added from the newest set is the B Unison, which, as we all know, is such a good unison. But yeah, do you remember much about your matchups, like what you played against each round?
yeah, I remember all of them. So for the first round, I played against Black Hatchiak from set 8, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it was a pretty easy matchup for me. I got the Baby Unison on board turn 3, and turn 5, he just let me counter one of his negates, bottom deck one of his blockers using the 5-drop Baby. And it just gave me a 30k triple strike on board for the rest of the game until I turning the tided him on turn 7, and there wasn't really anything you could do in the matchup.
Sounds legit.
It's just how the deck rolls against other kind of stall decks. There's not much Black Hatch yet could do into my deck. He can't really kill me, so it was just kind of a free-ish matchup for me.
What about your second round?
Um, I played against Android 16 from Battle Evolutions. This is the only game of the day where I actually won a dice roll, so it was pretty good for me. But another kind of good matchup for me. Every time you try to play the 2-drop 16 energy amplification, I just bottom decked it with the Diabolical Parasite Baby or the Hit Deadly Vanguard, so he could never really ramp. And then I had the Boo Unison on board, so I couldn't find my Baby early enough. But then every time he tried to play a 16 and swing with it, I just bottom decked it. So again, just no matchup where he can really do anything to me.
Yeah, it does sound like it isn't a great thing when when you invest 2 energy to try and ramp yourself, and it just get prevented for the same amount of energy, even less maybe as well.
Yeah, and he can't really respond on his turn using the Android 18 either, because it doesn't get reduced cost until it's my turn anyway, so he couldn't respond to it happening.
Yeah. What about your round 3?
Round 3, I played King Vegeta, and I think it was Max Fox who also topped, I think.
Yeah,
Playing
Max did
King
top.
Vegeta.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he got to like 8 energy as King Vegeta or something like that. And the game basically just came down to me putting it all in, turning the tide. It got minus the negged. I swung with leader and prayed he didn't draw a negate because he was at 3 life, and then went for the double strike on Boo. That was what I had to pray he didn't hit the negate because we were about to go into time.
So do you reckon this deck performs quite well against King Vegeta then?
Yeah, I think it's got a decent matchup as well because you can get rid of the 5-drops. I was tempted to bring in the blue baby promos that basically say you negate the skills of the opponent's battle card and then return it to their hand. So their 5-drop. So you just return the 5-drop back to their hand and then just play the Abuni on the turn. So they can't actually neg the Abuni, so you can actually swing some attacks in.
No.
But I ended up going with max power because a lot of the secret rares. I think if because you can negate some skills on the cards and on secret rares, and they say they won't get removed from the game then, and I don't really want to give people a chance to play their secret rare again, so I just went for the chance of using max power, and it's a negate as well, so it has a benefit to that.
That does make sense, yeah, because that isn't something you want to do when they drop the Kai. If they don't use the effect of Water Wipe, you don't want to put it back in their deck so they can potentially draw into it again, so that does make sense.
Yeah.
But what about your what about round 4?
I played I think it was Dean Hopkins playing Dark Broly. This was my first of 3 Dark Broly matchups. And I think I Heroic Prospects when I was on 2 energy. So I found both my Heroic Prospects quite early on, which was benefit for me. And then I just chipped him down with Abuni swings over 1 turn. So then you just lower their hand size because they can't do much into Heroic Prospects until they charge to 6 energy, and you just chip them down with a Booney until you. That's it, and it's a slow game, but you eventually get there in the end.
Yeah, I remember from back when we had that Broly first came out, where it was blue was a bit of a problem because of Obuni, where if they dropped that, because they got those 4 swings, you have to invest in out comboing 4 extra swings in 1 turn, no matter what else they had on board and stuff. So I know, yeah, I remember that being quite a irritating card to go against with Dark Broly back then.
Yeah.
Would you say this deck, like the deck is, from what I've heard anyway, Baby normally has always a strong matchup against Dark Broly?
Yeah, it's quite favourable into Dark Broly, especially with the new Boo Unison. So even when they would just drop something like Demigra, the 5-cost Demigra on you, you can bottom deck it, you can hit counterplay it. You've got so many options to some of these cards they like to play, and then because I main deck the 2 Sun Gohans and Piccolo skill sharpens to get rid of the True Fighting Spirits if they end up playing them. It's a pretty good matchup, but it also would be a better matchup if I got to go first in any of the Dark Broly matches I played. But it happens,
Yeah, because that Piccolo's a good Piccolo and Gohan's a good choice, because if you just put them in the drop, the battle cards, they just use them to bring out more Dark Broly's the next turn and use as a resource, but put them back in deck. That's that way they have access to them, which is really good.
Yeah.
But what about your turn 5? Is it 5 or 6?
For what?
But for
round
you,
5?
Yeah, you're round 5.
This was Dark Broly again, and I actually ended up losing this match. He was playing. I think he came 7th. I can't remember his name, but he was the 7th place with Dark Broly. And,
yeah, it was Mark Big Grand. I think it's Bugrand.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, so going second again, it's hard for. I mean, they get charged to certain 6 a turn earlier, so it's all right. But you'd like to go first to get the Heroic Prospects on earlier, just to shut it down even harder. But on his turn 5 energy, I just played my Boo Unison, and then he swung, and I decided to block an attack, and then he instantly just played Kai and warped my Unison, and one of the, I think I had, oh no, I didn't have anything else on forward, so he just insta warped my Unison, and I just had 1 energy open, so it kind of hard threw me that turn, because normally you'd want people to play. Normally people like to play Kai on your turn to obviously they get to save the extra energy for their own turn the next turn. But both games I lost, they both played Kai on their own turn to wipe my Unison.
Yeah, because in a deck like this, where the Unison is quite is very strong, you want to get rid of that as soon as possible. So that does make sense.
Yeah, and obviously it's a good way to stop it, especially with Boo and Baby, because Baby Unisons, because when you're playing Blue Baby, it's like you can't actually remove marker from the Unison unless I don't really mind you losing 1 and then stopping you from swinging my leader. So
yeah. What about your what about round 6?
Round 6, I played into my only Mecha Freezer matchup, and I found, so I got to like, I only found my Turning the Tide when I was about 8 energy, and I think he had like 17 cards in hand, so I decided just to go for Turning the Tide. He'd also, I played my Boo Unison turn before against Mecha. I just decided not to play like anything until it's safe enough to not instantly get tapped out, or I know I can survive. Because as soon as I attempt to play any battle card, it's getting rest moded, the Garma comes out, and then all the mana gets starting to get tapped, and they just try and kill me that turn. So it's just using my extra card negates, trying to get through it until I drop Turn in the Tide. Couldn't find it till turn 8, and then he had what's it called, Giant Ball, and then Leader Effect to rest the Turning the Tide. So I couldn't swing with it, and then I had 2 life left, and then he drew 1 for turn, and then drew 1 from Leader. He got a Basil, and then he drew into a counter cooler. So when I went to negate with my 1 negate, I found I just got killed instantly. So it was a sad event, but it happens.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. But what about with turns? What about with Game 7?
Game 7 was Dark Broly again, and yeah, it was just again, it's kind of like what happened for me Game 4 against Dark Broly, where I didn't like. He also wasn't playing the Kai Seeker, he was playing Rebello, so it was a lot better for me because Kai's the best way to kind of stop the Unison. So having the Boo Unison off field, he plays like Rebello, and then the turn he does play it, I play Hatch, but he played Demigra, so I ended up like warping 2 cards from hand because he also had a True Fighting Spirit Goku on board, and then I had to pitch 1 for Hatch. But I just went into a Boonie the next turn. Oh, I had a Boonie already on the field, and then went into another Boonie again in my hand if I wanted to, but I ended up playing a second Boo Unison, so I had another Double Striker on him, and there wasn't much he could do at that point after I whirled on his hand so much.
Yeah, that sounds. Hatch is such a good card for blue. Literally, being able to stop whole turn is so strong.
Yeah, it's blue's best secret rare. I don't think you'd want to play anything else, and it's searchable for your leader because it's a counter card.
Yeah.
So it's just the best fit for the deck.
And what about your last round, round 8?
I played against King Vegeta, and it was quite a good match. So I ended up playing one of the turns. I ended up playing Gohan against him, Baby's minion. But he had Koitsukai effect on, and I saw the effect of I didn't have to warp 2 from hand for Gohan Baby's minion because of the servant skill and making him 25k, but I ended up having to so then we called the judge in, and then I got told that I had to, so I was like, oh, I didn't realize it, and then I ended up having to I wasn't expecting it, so it was a turn where I should have ended up just using my Baby Hatch on his Koitsukai play and then just trying to survive going through the next turn. I ended up having to warp 2 cards, and I was on the back foot for a lot of the time. And then I play my Boo Unison on turn 4 just to bottom deck his 5-drop, and obviously I just have to crit a life, but it's not too much against me. And then when I got to turn 5, I just comboed on a swing trying to kill him. I had 5 cards in hand, I just couldn't combo. I couldn't get the damage through. Passed to him, and I had, I think it was 2 Revenge Big Bangs and 3 D-Magics in hand. And he just didn't kill me the next turn, and off one of the Revenge Big Bangs, I just drew into Fushida Mystery for the game. So there wasn't much he could do at that point, because I just stopped every swing, and then when it came time for the end of the game, I just killed him with Fu, which I was lucky enough to draw off the Big Bang.
Yeah, not when you've got like that with 6 free negates, essentially, it's pretty hard to play through, trying to get through that defense. Yeah. And with all that, you managed to make it all the way in top 16, and with a list that's quite unique as well. Because not a lot of decks. Well, I know it is best of one, and with best of one, a lot of what you want to do is main deck some of your things you would side, because there is no side deck in the best of one to help you have a better chance of majority. A few of them do make sense, like with the Boo Unison, that makes sense. And you did play 2 of the Baby Unison. Is there a reason why you didn't just play just 4 of the Baby Unison and not, the Boo Unison and not the Baby?
I mean, the Boo Unison just is nuts in this deck because you can properly just defend its markers and it never actually just loses one. So it only actually loses markers in like the green matchup where they can snipe markers from Boo. And then the point of using Baby is that the -5 on it is really good. So against decks like that can stop Fu Shrouding Mystery. So maybe it's a blue deck that runs God's Healing Technique, or it's like Bloodlust in Mecha or something, just to kind of stop it from being able to kill him. It's nice just to have that -5 in the backup with the Golden Ape as well, just to secure the game.
Yeah, and imagine that one of the best things is after you play it on turn 3, you get the 5 markers, and if it survives with 5 markers, you just instantly do the -5, then play the Boo Unison down, and then you've got a lot of pressure plus a lot of defense where the Boo untaps itself on energy at the end of your turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sounds solid. Also, you chose to run the Zeno Edge of Space Negate. Is there a reason why? It's not negate super combo. Is there a reason why you chose that over? I know some use the Vegeta one from set 11.
Yeah, so it's good because you can charge your Turning the Tides on like turn 1 or 2, and then pick them up later in the game. Off like maybe I use Ready to Rumble late game, so I can block with it and then just use a super combo and pick up Turning Tide without having to risk taking damage. But it's also good to get around the if someone's playing the Silver Bullets, like the Changing History Sun Gohan, where if I untap a mana using an extra card counter, or just a counter skill in general, I'd have to burn a life and a mana. So it's just allowing me to get around that, and it gives a good amount of combo like power by charging something dead in my hand, or give me an extra energy to combo off like a 1+10k or anything like that.
That does sound pretty useful way to get around those Silver Bullets. Because imagine without that, it'd be quite difficult because a lot of, especially in best of one, as we said, a lot of people might be maining them just because they're cantrips, and also to help against things like Blue Baby.
Yeah, you generally see like a lot of mecha players will like to play them using Planet Vegeta because it's searchable as well for them, so they can just add it to the hand if they ever want to in the Blue Baby matchup or Blue matchup in general. So it just helps them against them who end up normally at least using one if they run Planet Vegeta.
Yeah. What was your reason for only running 2 heroic prospects? Was that just because you only had 2, or is 2 a better 2 the right number to play for you?
It just kind of came down to like deck space in the end. So for the entirety of the week, I've been testing Bulma and Baby the Body Changer, the 10k negate that lets you bottom deck servants. So it's kind of running like the mini servant package, and it was okay. But then I felt like, because I hadn't tested against testing with my mate, and we haven't tested my deck against Dark Broly or like anything like that. And I just remember like the last time I played in the webcam regionals in May, like it just helped so much against Dark Broly, and I thought having those 5 cards, I just removed them because they took up so much space and weren't doing too much. So they were just plain negates, and that was about it. And having 2, it just came down to space because I wanted to run 1 Jiren and 2 Sun Gohans, and in the end it worked out pretty okay because I found them when I needed them at least.
Okay, and speaking of the Jiren, what was the reason for maining this 1 Jiren? Because from what I'm aware of, the only card I know that is really good against is Turning the Tide. Were you expecting to play the mirror match during the event, or what was the reason behind Jiren?
Yeah, so I was expecting to at least play another mirror, or at least anyone playing Turning Tide, because I think most blue decks would probably run Turning the Tide in at least the best of one. So it's just, if you get that with some decks, it's good to end the game. But my only blue deck I ended up facing was Android 16 round 2, and then he ended up revealing, after I won the game, he ended up like going showing me that he runs like Turning the Tide for the next turn, but because I had the Durin in hand, I would have been safe anyway. So
that does seem like an odd choice in Android 16, because I know if you do try to ramp with the Android 16, you then can't physically play the Android 17. So that's quite an odd choice.
So, I was a bit confused by that, but I mean, I guess he could have played it the next turn, but I mean, it wouldn't have worked out for him because I had Durin, and because he wasn't playing the Baby Unison, he can't counter using a Golden Ape, so it's quite a good combo using the Baby Unison as well, because you just get a good matchup into the blue mirror at least, because having the ability to Golden Ape a Durin at least when you go to Turning the Tide is just great, so you don't actually lose anything.
Yeah. And Dirty Burst, I know that's something that Blue Baby might side, but what was the idea behind Dirty Burst?
No, it's obviously good into Salzino decks and Aggro Sin. I didn't end up seeing Aggro Sin or anyone that ran Salzino at all, so it didn't become useful at all. But it's also good against at least anyone that tries to go for game against me with Blue Shroud Mystery without already having a board presence. So it stops them from attacking. But at its worst, it's just a flat one energy negate.
Yes, yeah. So at least in the at worst, it's just a negate. That's for one energy. But yeah, I don't think I even saw during the event many Sin decks. I think I saw maybe one, and I think it was a defensive one. But I didn't see I know with when we first had the regionals in the first one, there were a lot of aggro Sin because a friend of mine from locals ended up taking the event, going EXO with his with the version we built together. But yes, since then it's slowly declined. Like it was pretty strong. It was pretty strong showing in the beginning, but it's died down a bit. And now I don't know if people prefer to go for Mecha because it's really the superior yellow deck, or because it's not their kind of playstyle. I'm not sure, but didn't seem to be many of them in the tournament.
Yeah, it was quite strange not seeing. I didn't see one Salzino deck. My opponent that did play Mecha played Kai anyway. I think he also ended up topping with Mecha Freezer. He ran they were playing the Barlock overround to pitch the Beerus, so I was assuming he was going to play Salzino on me, but he ended up playing Kai on me the next turn. So it worked out for him because he got rid of my Unison and Gohan Baby's Minion on board, but it was just quite confused with the lack of Salzino play at least.
Yeah, I think there was two mechas in the top cut, both playing quite similar lists, except with one playing Salzino and one with playing the Kai. But both playing not the red-blue version, but the more aggressive version, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this is quite an interesting list with the quite a few nice, interesting tech choices, which, as you've explained, have got some interesting reasons behind. But if are you going to play in any future CardMarket events, and if you are, will there be any changes you make for the next set, for the next one?
Yeah, I'll probably end up playing when I got them. Anything I would change? I mean, maybe removing the Durin, because I've taken Durin now to all the previous CardMarket tournaments and never actually played him once. But it's just, I just guess I'm bad at seeing a blue mirror at least, which I guess is a good thing for me. But having a card that all I can do with it is bottom deck with my leader skill ends up just being kind of useless when you see him win in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Durin only looks like his as I said, the only card I can see actually being played on now since Gogeta's 7 is banned is just the Android 17, which is only going to be in the mirror match.
Yeah, it's only useful for the mirror, and then if you don't even play the mirror, you just have to bottom deck it when you search the top 3 of your leader skill. So I guess it has one use for easy to get rid of, but I guess you could just drop it down and play 53 cards instead of 54.
Mm-hmm. Will there be any other changes, do you reckon, or do you like it as is it just a journey you think you might change up for the next time?
Jaren could, Jaren definitely go. Maybe see a use of Through the Dark Banisher as the Overrealm, maybe instead of Through Shrouded Mystery, because running into 3 Dark Broly players and having my Overrealm essentially be useless, and seeing it in each of the matchups wasn't a good feeling, and Dark Banisher just being able to destroy Dark Broly, but having such an advantageous matchup against them anyway with like heroic prospects, maybe it would just be overkill and Fu just seals out too many games against other decks.
Yeah, because this Shrouded White does take 2 more turns to be able to play it. It shuts off everything but the leader, but that's the thing, even if you do it against Dark Broly, it doesn't shut the leader off, so they can still use their cards for combo power at the very least, which is whereas Banisher Fu comes in a little bit earlier and makes your opponent, its Dark Broly, lose 2 cards every time they want to power up by 5k to defend, which is pretty. But then it all depends really on how much Dark Broly do you reckon you see, and how much do you prefer the one Fu or the other Fu.
Yeah, and Fu Shrouded Mystery basically being good against any deck that isn't Dark Broly makes it a lot more valuable than Dark Banisher.
Well, this is a really interesting list, and congratulations at the top. But before we end the video, and also thank you for joining me to go over your deck and just give anybody who's watching a good view over this, basically, because any information or any view from someone who's talked about their list could help out anybody else who's looking to play as well. Are there any shout-outs you want to give before we end it?
Any shout-outs? I'll shout out my mates, Mason and Mark. They helped me a lot. They tasked me before as well, and shout out to Pete, who over the last week been testing with me quite a bit every day, just helping me like fine-tune the list and giving me ideas. He gave me the idea to run Baby Unison, and I just put 2 in, and it worked out quite well.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because I don't see that like you could just take all of them out to put in 4, but then, as I said, having the baby for turn 3 and the boo for turn 4 after is very strong.
Yeah, it's a good split to have, and being able to just do +2 and -5, and then potentially on turn 4 having 2 double strikes if you can defend all 5 markers on it is good against a lot of decks if you can do it.
But once again, thank you for coming on to give your insight and just to cover your deck. And thank you all. Thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.